Thank you for your testimony. Next, Ms. Rice.
The fight for democracy in America is the biggest fight of our lives. My name is Lisa Rice. I am a native Washingtonian, the daughter of a Black World War II combat veteran, former ANC commissioner, Ward 7 resident, independent voter, and the proposer of Initiative 83. I am dedicated to democracy reform and proud to lead the charge in my hometown. I am here today to strongly urge you to fully fund Initiative 83. Over the past decade, partisan division and the threat of authoritarianism have spiked significantly. I have been deeply disturbed by the erosion of the foundations of our democracy. It is why I proposed Initiative 83, to center the people over politics and ease partisan division by enfranchising independent voters in primary elections and establishing ranked choice voting to prevent sectarian candidates from winning with paltry support. 73% of district voters support this. We secured supermajorities in all 8 wards. Voters are rejecting the authoritarian impulses of politicians who believe they know better than their constituents. Failing to fund Initiative 83 would send precisely the wrong message to voters fighting to preserve democracy. In voting for Initiative 83, DC voters cast aside the partisan primaries imposed on us by Congress when it originally granted us home rule. We chose self-determination built with our neighbors, not a closed system handed down to us from elected officials in other states. I appreciate DC voters' support because independent voters like me are disenfranchised twice. We don't have voting representation nationally, and we cannot vote in the primary that we fund with our own tax dollars. Council, we have an opportunity together to make DC a national model of inclusion by embracing independent voters. Independent voters in DC support many of the same policies as registered Democrats. In fact, only 1% of DC voters are unaffiliated conservatives. Letting independents vote is also the right thing to do. Civil rights trailblazers marched, bled, and died for our right to vote. But 75,000 independent voters are still waiting to be allowed to vote in DC. We have been silenced by a system that wasn't built for us, but I'm proud to stand with voters from every ward, every walk of life to fix that. The second major reform in Initiative 83 is the implementation of ranked choice voting, which would ensure that more candidates in the district get elected with majority support. A reform that feels ever more pressing as our national politics drift toward extremism and our ward politics produces splintered electorates. We've heard a disturbing refrain from some Black council members who oppose ranked choice voting. It is that older Black residents living east of the river will be confused. As a 64-year-old Black woman born and raised in Ward 7 and 8 and still living in Ward 7, let me state this plainly. It is racist and insulting to imply that residents east of the river aren't smart enough to understand ranked choice voting. Residents in Ward 7 and 8, like our neighbors citywide, voted overwhelmingly by a supermajority for Initiative 83, and I will not stand for anyone saying that we are too stupid to know what we voted for. Initial funding estimates put the cost of implementation at $1.46 million over 4 years. That's a mere 52 cents per year per DC resident, a minuscule 0.007% of the DC budget. That is a small but necessary price to pay for democracy. For just 52 cents a year, we can guarantee every voter a real voice and build a democracy worthy of people who sustain it. Democracy is under assault in this country. When my future grandchildren ask me what I did to protect it, I want to show them that we didn't just honor DC's proud history, we delivered on our city's promise to all of its residents. I hope I can count on you, every member of this council, including you, Chairwoman Bonds, to work for us, make the district a model for others to follow, a place where voters speak, their leaders listen, I respectfully ask that you and the council fully fund and faithfully fund Initiative 83. Chairwoman Bonds, with your consent, I'd like to address the topic raised earlier about home rule in the charter. Would that be all right? Very quickly?
Go right ahead, Ms.
Thank you so much.
Rice, of course.
Thank you. In order to be deemed a proper subject matter for an initiative, both the DC Attorney General's Office and the Board of Elections examined 5 factors. One of those factors was whether Initiative 83 violates or amends the Home Rule Act or our charter. Both the DC Attorney General and the Board of Elections found that it did not. Otherwise, it would not have been approved to be on the ballot. More specifically, I want to share a few quotes from the board's opinion on that very issue. Quote, "The measure does not, as the AG noted, do away with partisan primaries." End quote. Next quote. "Here, the measure does nothing to change the organization of primary ballots by party and does not allow non-party members to vote for party officials. It simply allows independents to participate." End quote. The primaries will remain partisan. Initiative 83 will not change that. Democrats cannot vote in Republican primaries, and Republicans cannot vote in Democratic primaries. I will also read verbatim from the opinion of the Office of the Attorney General. Quote, "The proposed initiative would not violate or amend the Home Rule Act. The Home Rule Act requires the mayor, members of the council, and attorney general to be elected on a partisan basis. It also requires there be 2 at-large members elected in each cycle and limits a political party to not more than 1 nominee for at-large member in 1 election cycle. The Home Rule Act does not require first past the post, as opposed to ranked choice voting. It also does not require closed primaries. The law establishing the district's delegate to the House of Representatives also does not impose such election requirements for that office. The proposed initiatives makes no change to partisan elections required by the Home Rule Act, but simply provides for the votes in these elections to be tabulated under a ranked choice system rather than a first past the post system, and allows unaffiliated voters to choose to participate in one party's primary election." End quote. And finally, Chairwoman Bonds, Initiative 83 has already gone through the congressional review process and emerged unscathed. In closing, on this issue, Chairwoman, I understand your question, and it's a fair one, but it's one that both the OAG and BOE had to answer in favor of 83 for us to be with you here today. I thank you very much for your time.